Your future does not belong to anyone else, not your parents, and especially not this boy. It is yours, and you can make of it anything you want. After that, I didn't think of Senor Rodriguez as just my Spanish teacher, but as mi profesor de alma, the teacher of my soul. One morning, when I was 13 years old, my mother woke us up and told us that more than 30 people had been killed during an outdoor party in the old barrio neighborhood of La Chinita in Apartado. My grandmother, aunts, uncles, and cousins lived in barrios not far from La Chinita. They will all be fine, my mother told us. I'll go there and see and see, but they will all be fine. Yet there was fear in her eyes. She went first to my aunt's house, then to my grandmother's, and then to La Chinita, and that's in the site of the massacre. The bodies were still lying on the street, their faces covered with cloths. People walked among them, lifting the cloths to see if anyone knew had been killed. They knew had been killed. My family was safe, but a friend of my mother's was among the dead, and my mother heard the story of how it happened from one of the survivors. There had been a party in the small plaza to raise funds for a local school. It was a beautiful evening, and many people came out, young and old, to dance and have fun under the stars. Some of the people at the party were former members of one of the armed groups. Apparently, they were the target of the attack, though most of the people who died were not connected with any armed group. Around 11 at night, the party was in full swing when a truck full of armed men drove into the square. They jumped from the vehicle and opened fire. They didn't seem to care who they hit. Old people and children were among the 35 people who died. One of the men had drawn his gun on the husband of my mother's friend. Please don't kill him, she had pleaded. Please, for the sake of our children, I beg you. But he killed them both. After the massacre at La Chinita, the violence in and around Apartado became much more intense. Armed groups sometimes turned up in villages, forced all the men, women, and children into the plaza, and sifted through them, executing anyone found guilty of supporting their rivals. They murdered grocers who sold food to the wrong side. They killed teachers who were teaching the wrong lessons. They slaughtered husbands in front of wives, parents in front of children, community leaders in front of entire villages. Many families were ordered to abandon their homes. Money was extorted from those they allowed to remain. They sometimes showed up at farms like ours, gathered all the workers together, called out the names of supposed subversives, and killed them. They also assassinated petty thieves and other delinquents, claiming that they were cleaning up the town. In the space of 3 years, more than 1,200 people in Apartado were assassinated, including 17 members of the local government. Almost no one was arrested or brought to trial for these murders. One of the worst massacres came in September 1995. A bus carrying workers from Apartado to one of the plantations was forced off the road at a place called Bajo del Oso. They took the passengers off the bus, tied their hands, threw them face down in the mud, and opened fire. 25 people died, including a 14-year-old boy. The few that survived only did so because they were protected by the bodies of the dead. A friend of my father's was killed on that bus. We never spoke about it as a family, but we all sensed that next time it could be one of us. If my father was late coming from work, we were all afraid, but there was nothing we could do, or so I thought. When I was 14, I began to attend the Jose Celestino Mutis High School in Apartado. During the week, I stayed with my aunt in the town. After the quietness and isolation of the plantation, I loved the energy of the town. Newspaper stories of Apartado made it seem like everyone was allied with one armed group or another, perpetually plotting war or carrying out hideouts, hideous acts of violence. And in fact, most people were never involved in the violence, except sometimes as its victims. And the violence wasn't continuous either. Most nights, these small bars of Apartado blasted loud music, and people strolled the streets around the Central Park or sat at tables in sidewalk cafes. I walked to school every day along the avenue besides the hospital. Teak trees grew close together along the roadside, their branches arching high over the road. Part way along this avenue was Don Fermin's fruit stall, with its rich fragrances of papaya, mamosilla, mango, and banana. Don Fermin always called out a greeting as I passed, and if I missed a day at school, he noticed and wanted to know the reason why. Many people in Apartado were like him. They were sweet and caring and just happened to live in the middle of war. Celestino was tougher than my previous school, with a lot of fights, petty theft, and drug abuse. Our ninth grade class was considered to be the most disruptive in the school, but we were proud of this. We challenged our teachers and objected to the entire education system in Colombia, which favored the rich and privileged. We demanded more participate. Oh my God.